Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Donna, and I am an alcoholic, and it's so good to be here. And Ali, thank you for inviting me back. This is a very special evening for me because my first teacher who started me on this path and my current teacher are both on this call. Loretta, thank you so much. And Gwen, thank you so much. When I was asked to come up with the topic, I sat with the big book and I sat with the 12 and 12. And because of how I'm actually feeling, what resonated was the passage that I chose. Because it's exactly how I feel, that sense of belonging. It's not so much that I feel like I'm connected with you, but it's my relationship with God. I'm very grateful that I had, God, willingness and open mind and honesty. And it's the same thing I bring to the deal 22 years later. My sobriety date is August 5th, 2000. And I always remember that last day of my drinking. I was finding that I always had 50 cents in my pocket time and time again. That's how my runs always ended. And on August 5th, 2000, something had happened to me that had never happened any other date. I don't know if it was because I really felt such a place of despair that I didn't feel that I could go on any longer, and a power burst upon me that I had never felt before. And I knew in that moment that the obsession to drink was lifted, and I actually walked past my mom, and I even said that to her. I told her I was done. And then the journey began, and it's amazing because the people that were placed in my path were people that I probably wouldn't have found on my own. And I always say that if I don't believe that God did the miracle on August 5th, 2000, my God was going to stay small. And I was just willing to go to any length. I couldn't help but be willing because of the teachers that were before me. They had something, they had a sense of belonging. They made me feel that for the first time I was going to probably find what I had never found before, because I had always been on a journey. I always felt that something was missing, and I didn't know what it was. And this was before I drank. I remember when I first started going through the work, it was real important that I come up with a concept that I can believe in. I always say that when I come to Alcoholics Anonymous for the first time, I get to discover what's wrong with me. I get to discover if I'm an alcoholic, because when I come in here, it's just a desire to stop drinking. And I've always believed what people told me about me, and I never questioned it. And so for the first time, I was able to decide for my own satisfaction that I was an alcoholic. And then I get to decide what this God of mine looked like and what God I was going to believe in, because I knew that whatever God that I chose, it was going to have to be powerful enough in my willingness for me to continue to do the rest of this work. It's amazing because the concept that I had in the beginning, it's not even about my concept today. I don't think that a concept I can come up with would be big enough for as powerful as God is in my life. Prayer and meditation, it's amazing to me because I used to think that meditation was just sit quietly, and I realized today it's listening to God. And something I've never said before, I said not too long ago, I said that I have all that I have. And I used to say I have all that I need. And I realized that there is nothing that I need as long as I just realize the consciousness of God within. But it took a journey for me to get here. I've gone through the work with different teachers in my 22 years. I'm very grateful for each and every person that gave of themselves. I understand today that I moved to Florida from New York, and I knew that I needed to move for a long time because I couldn't afford New York any longer. I'm semi-retired. Yes, I collected Social Security. But I didn't know where I was going to go. And I was okay with that because I realized I don't know until I know. And I was always on an I need to know basis. And now in my life, I don't know until I'm led. And I also needed to get my hip replaced. And I didn't know if I was going to do that in New York or if I was going to do it in Florida. And I didn't know until I knew. And I knew when I was going to have the surgery was when the surgeon said that we can see you on October 13th. And now I know that. And then I knew that I had to move and I didn't know where. But I found an apartment when I found the apartment. And I'm finding that the more that I just rely on God, then I have the space to do what God intends for me to do, is to just rely on him and work on his behalf. I'm very grateful that I have an opportunity to carry this message to other alcoholics. I also understand the importance of being in companionship with people. I never understood that. I think the reason why I'm able to feel a sense of belonging, because I'm able to see that we're all united under this omnipresence of God. And I'm able to see that when people are showing up, if they say things or do things that may be unkind, that they're not doing it to me, that in that moment they're being spiritually unconscious, the very same way that I can also show up spiritually unconscious. I don't attach myself to other people's behavior, and that's so much freedom. I have an opportunity to be here in Florida. I was a very disobedient child, very disobedient teenager, and very disobedient adult to my mom. And I get an opportunity to show up for my mom today. Now, my mom hasn't changed. She still complains a lot and everything just upsets her. But I'm able to love her. I'm able to see her and accept her and try to be of service to her. And when she starts complaining, I just go, really? That's such a gift. I no longer live in a completely hostile world. My world was always hostile because I was bringing most of the hostility. Most of my life, my happiness was contingent upon how people treated me and what people thought about me. But really, it's how I thought about myself. And as I live the spiritual life, see, I have a desire that I'm willing to die daily. In prayer, I feed my mind a new narrative. And that's why I think it's so important when it says that we should take advantage of spiritual books. Currently, I'm reading Joel Goldsmith, and I just love him. And I want to thank you, Gwen, for turning me on to Joel. And my desire is that God becomes I, and that I'm like this with God. And I always have a hard time when I'm asked to speak on step 11, because this is a whole new way of being for me, that I don't always have the right vocabulary. Is God working through me? Is God working with me? I do know that it's not me learning how to love you better and learning how to be more understanding towards you. It's God doing that through me. Because as a human being, my love is always contingent on a need. And as soon as that need isn't met, I can fall out of love real quick and I can fall out of understanding. I was on the subway going to Coney Island. And there was a man who was on the train with two young boys. One was about 13. The other one was about 9. And I asked the younger boy, I said, "Oh, you're going to Coney Island?" And it turned out to be their uncle. And I felt the love in this man. He was so excited to be taking his nephews to Coney Island. It's like I tapped into this man's love, and he was just so honored to take his nephews to Coney Island that when I got off the train, I started crying, because how I connected with that man was on a level that was so deep that it wasn't human, it was God. You know, in the big book, it makes reference to all this new life, new foundation, new. I don't know this new. I don't know how to describe the new half the time. I just know that when I'm in prayer and meditation and I say things like, I have all that I have, that was powerful for me, because I realized that I don't need anything. I also am not alone. That sense of belonging goes deeper than me feeling connected to you. I had my hip replaced on October 13th. And the only people that were in my life during that time was the visiting nurse, the physical therapist, and the woman who came in to feed my cats because I couldn't bend down. Now, on my own, I would have felt I was so alone. Nobody's here with me. But do you know that each one of those people that I just mentioned, I was in companionship with them. I couldn't go down. I would throw the key out the window. And when they were in my presence, I just connected with them. She wasn't the visiting nurse. He wasn't the therapist. She wasn't the person to feed my cat. They were people. We were one. We connected. We talked. The guy was only with me for 30 minutes, but that 30 minutes made me realize I'm not alone. I was able to pack up my apartment pretty much on my own. I did have people that came to assist me, but it was amazing what I was able to do. It's mind-blowing. And even before the surgery, my hip was really, really bone on bone. The pain was in the background. Some of the most powerful big book readings I did with sponsees when I was in the worst pain. So I know God is real. We are no longer lost, frightened, and purposefulness. There's a sense, like I said, I don't do justice in describing the feeling I have about God. I just know. And when I fall short, thank you, Gwen, because Gwen says 10, 6, and 7. And sometimes there's a character defect of mine that was coming up. Man, I get very annoyed, or used to get very annoyed, if I was doing something and I got a phone call from someone. Like, damn, why they call me now? Just so irritated. And I don't type, because then it becomes semantics. I got to worry about the keys. I just use my phone, and I use the mic on the text message, and I just personal inventory, just told Gwen what I did. Like, once again, I was rude, and I was disrespecting a person trying to do their job. And then I went right into 6. God, please remove this objectionable behavior, this need I have to feel that people can only call me when I'm ready for them to call. And show me how to be kind and considerate. And then I'm giving God more of me. And sometimes I'll say the word, God, have more of me. There's something about when I say more, because I feel like I'm giving a lot, but I'm giving a little bit more right now. I must have did that same behavior, must have cropped up time and time again, that one day I said to her, OMG, like, I can't believe I'm still doing it. I'm still being rude. And she said, Donna, just continue it, because it'll get better. And by God's grace, when people call me today, I just automatically give them space. Like, I just give them space. And I realize that people are just like me. They're trying to do their job. And that we're all connected by one power. one love. So I don't try to look at differences, because if I look at differences, then I'll never feel a sense of belonging. I'll never feel like I'm not living in a hostile world. The rest of this says we begin to see truth, justice, and love as the real and eternal things in life. I never understood what being of the world meant and being in the world. I used to be of the world, power, money, and prestige. That was my thing. And I failed miserably at it. And I realized today that if I rely on God, I see God, it's God's eye, God's truth, God's justice, and God's love. That's the thing. I'll get all the other things. And to me, when I'm practicing step 11, the most powerful prayer, if I never know any other prayer, it's that third step prayer that gets me. Who should bear witness? Not to me, but God's love, God's power, God's way of life. And so I realized that I don't know where this ends, the seeking. I'm just a seeker. I keep having new teachers. I go through the work again. I write inventory. Gwen says, well, you're going to be going down to be with your mom. You may want to, write some inventory. And there was a lot of limiting beliefs that was still cropping up. And I want to thank Loretta, because she gave me a great word, the tinge. When I feel the tinge of an old idea that's going to take me back to a place of I'm not feeling good enough and make me feel like I don't belong, I can pause in that. I can turn in that. I can pray in that. Because if I don't, it's going to cost me emotionally and it's going to cost me materialistically. What I mean by materialistically, my old ideas is I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, and everybody's better. Whatever it is I want to try to do to better my life, I won't succeed, because this feeling that I'm not good enough will always be in the way. So for me, this program is about dying daily. I always say that the God that created me, he recreates me, but I got to see what I did in the middle that keeps me from being a part of the human race. I remember I did my first fit set with Rashid, and there's certain things I don't forget. And when he dropped me off to go sit for an hour, he said, now go join the human race. That rocked me. I remember the first time I realized that I had to totally let go and let God. I did my first third step, but I was doing fear inventory, and I realized, wait a minute, I know what's going on here. I'm supposed to give God all. And it was my first honest prayer. And I went to Catholic school for 13 years, including kindergarten. And my first honest prayer was a conversation. And I said, God, I feel like I'm up on a cliff, way up high. I'm willing to jump, but are you going to be there to catch me? I was willing, but this was my first time really wanting to form that relationship with God. And I just needed to ask him, are you going to be there to catch me? So I don't know where this journey leads me. I just know that I feel that I'm enough. I don't feel alone. I'm starting a new chapter in Florida. I didn't think I'd be moving to Florida, but I don't know what it holds for me. I don't need to know. I really believe that God is in front and he's straightening out the crooked lines. I believe that my cross to bear in life is being an alcoholic, because the pain of being an alcoholic brought me to my knees for me to seek God. So I can be part of the segment of the world who is willing to do God's will. I think the most beautiful thing to do, at least for me, is to be used by God. Just use me. And I don't know if there's ever an end, but that's my desire. And I notice that I get through my days. I stop saying I have good days and I have bad days because it's still selfish if I start talking like that. Because trust me, it's only a good day when I get my needs met. And it's a bad day when things don't go my way. There's no God in that. And then I think about it, well, the days that are challenging, they're really not bad days because it gives me a great opportunity to rely on God and ask God to show me, what do I do here? I don't get it right all the time, nor should I. Because if I don't get it right all the time, I can't expect you to get it right all the time. And I think what makes me more connected with you guys are the things that we do human. I'm grateful that I get very uncomfortable when I'm not kind and loving. It doesn't feel good. There was a time that if I did things to hurt people, the best I could do was say, oh, I was only kidding. Or, oh, you're just so sensitive. I couldn't own anything. But I don't know whether it's the connection that I have with others that I can feel when I'm being unkind. And when I was doing 10, 6, and 7 for like 3 days in a row, these were people that were calling me up about my surgery. And every time I was rude, damn, I felt really bad. But I don't know why, God, I just kept seeing that. And maybe I had to keep seeing that behavior so I could be free of the behavior, because I kept going to God and pleading with him, God, please, these people don't deserve me being rude like that. And I realized that when I'm on dealing with anybody, it can be companionship if I just respect them. And then we can start talking about a whole lot of things other than what they even called for. That's a new term for me, companionship. So I guess I gauge my spiritual growth by the newness in how I talk about it. And sometimes I don't know how to talk about it. And that's why I'm so grateful for people that have been on this path before me. Because as I hear them, I get a sense as to that I'm on the right path, that this thing just keeps getting better and better. I realize that desire is very key. Not everyone has the desire to die daily. And I'm finally understanding that in how it works, it tells us what the people that are coming in or that have been sitting around a long time, are they willing to go to anyone to get it? Well, they're not saying what the it is, but are we the it? Are we the light? Who should bear witness as we demonstrate? Not our love, not our power, not our will. That's all God's. I think it's the coolest thing to be a vessel for God. takes all the pressure off of how to live life. God says, rely on me and work on my behalf. That's it, Donna. I got you. And it's testimony, because what I went through from that surgery till today, it's amazing to me that I got through this with dignity, with not feeling alone, not thinking I needed. I actually, this is funny. I always thought when I got furniture in a box, I needed somebody to put it together for me. What? This desk, I put it together. And it was interesting because even putting the desk together was an exercise in not giving up when things don't go right. Because I literally had to take the top off twice. And as I was going through it, it just reminded me of life. Calm down, slow down, start over. And I'm so proud of this desk. I'm so grateful. August 5th, 2000, God saved me from me. And he put some amazing people in my path. Two of them are on this call. That when I saw them, I started crying because it reminded me of when I first came into AA. And I get to share with them on the call tonight. I think God knows the desire of our hearts. God knows. Because I couldn't have gotten here on my own. And it tells us it's so simple. All we need to bring is willingness, open-mindedness, and honesty. That doesn't change. The same willingness, open-mindedness, and honesty I had 20-something years ago is the same willingness, honesty, and open-mindedness I have now. The only thing that's different is I know less. I know less. I don't need to know. I also love the fact that I can stay still a long, long time. And whenever my mind wants to wander in meditation, I just say a prayer. And like I said, that third step prayer to me just sums it up. And I just sit with God. Just sit. I've even been sitting in the middle of the day because sometimes a lot of life gets in the way. So I sit again. Evening review, the question that always comes up, what could I have done better? I guess that question always stumps me. Because I don't know. I don't think I could have done anything better. Because I usually am able to see what I've done when I look at selfishness and dishonesty. There's not really much I can say.